Okay, so I am in the parking lot for the Grafton Loop Trail in the state of Maine. Beginning my hike of the Grafton Loop, which is about 40 miles. It'll be a 4-day hike. Getting a little bit of a late start. It's about 3:30, so hoping to hike to the first campsite on the west side of Route 26. So I have to walk along the road for a little bit to get to that trailhead. So that first campsite might be somewhere between 5 and 6 miles from here. So we'll see how it goes. So I wanted to just take a moment to explain the hike to you. You might have noticed that the title of the video says Grafton Loop Attempt. So as the title suggests, I didn't actually do the whole loop, even though that was my intention. The reason that I didn't is because I made a stupid mistake in packing, and I forgot to pack my stove, which I realized when I got to my campsite the first night. So then I ended up hiking back to my car the next morning and went into the town of Bethel, found a camping store, bought a stove, went back to the Grafton Loop, and then I tried to do as much of the loop as I could over the next 3 days. So I'm going to show you on the map what I actually did, so hopefully it makes sense when you watch the rest of the video. So the Grafton Loop crosses Route 26 at 2 different spots. So I began at the southernmost crossing. So basically we came here, and first day hiked basically to right here, which is the Sargent Brook campsite. Upon realizing I forgot to pack my stove the next morning, I hiked back out the same way, back to my car. Then, after picking up a stove for the rest of the trip, I came back to the Grafton Loop, and instead here, drove to the northern end where it crosses Route 26. So then I hiked to the Speck Pond campsite, okay, which is a little bit off the Grafton Loop, but that was where I intended to camp the second night anyway, so that worked out okay. And then the third day I hiked back to my car, and then I continued on the east side of Route 26 over the Baldpate peaks and to this East Baldpate campsite. So that hike was basically exactly what I was going to do on the third day anyway. I was maybe going to go a little bit further, but essentially similar to my original plan. But then unfortunately for the fourth day, I had to hike back to my car at the Grafton Notch. So I didn't do the whole loop, but I definitely got a good idea of what the trail was like. I certainly missed out on a couple notable spots like Sunday River Whitecap and a place called the Lightning Ledge and Puzzle Mountain. But again, I got to do as much of the loop as I could. All right, so on a little flat stretch of trail now. Beginning part of the hike was fairly easy, slight uphill grade. Then it got really steep for quite a bit. So I think now that I've crossed over Bald Mountain, there wasn't any views, or at least not from the trail. And so now I think I'm heading to the next peak, which is Stowe Mountain, and then just over that should be campsite. So it's about 5:30. Yeah, not sure how much farther I have to go, maybe about 2 miles. Hopefully it'll be good. All right, just got done with another really steep, challenging climb up what I think is Stowe Mountain. Trail has leveled off here, so I assume I'm near the top, but not really any open spots. Doesn't matter though, because it's been raining for about an hour. It's thunder off in the distance too, which isn't ideal. Hoping to get to my campsite soon. Kind of going up, but this is the first open area. Still not really anything visible, but the sky doesn't look terrible, but it's still raining. So it looks like I'm still going uphill a little bit. Okay, so now I'm in the parking lot where the Grafton Loop crosses 26 at the north end. So I'm now heading on, which is the Grafton Loop Trail, but also the AT, to close to Old Speck Mountain, and then eventually to Speck Pond. All right, steady climb for about an hour from the trailhead. I think that the biggest peak there would be Old Speck, where I'm making my way to, or at least near there today. All right, just came to this open spot. You can see up here, this I assume is Old Speck, so it's still a lot higher than where I am right now. But I'm not going to the summit today. The Appalachian Trail will veer off the Grafton Loop Trail, in which I'll take to Speck Pond, and then tomorrow on my way back I will go to the summit, but I'm not sure how much, where those trails split, how much lower in elevation it is from the top. Okay, so this is one of the first picture-worthy spots in 2 days of hiking. This is really great overlook. I think I can see Route 26 down below. I'm still not quite, I didn't make it to the trail junction yet, but I gotta be really close. And this looks like some of the bigger peaks in the background where I'll be heading till tomorrow. And here I am. So, Speck Pond campsite where I'm going, 1.1 to the right. Old Speck Mountain Summit, 0.3. I'm gonna do that hike tomorrow. I'll drop my backpack here and hike to the summit. According to this sign, I came 3.5 miles from Grafton Notch. It's pretty slow hiking. It's about over 3 hours for 3.5 miles. Another really nice spot. Just started down the trail, the Appalachian Trail to Speck Pond. Big pond in front of me, which I'm not sure if that's it. If it is, it looks like a lot farther than a mile away, which the sign said 1.1. Over there you can see the Sunday River ski slopes. Kind of cool. So this is a spot along Speck Pond. It's a little bit of a walk from my campsite. A little bit I'll take a video of my campsite. Found a spot where I can maybe go for a swim/cleanse, which I need after 2 days of brutal hiking. Okay, so I just left my campsite at Speck Pond here, and I'm heading back up the Speck Pond Trail to meet back up with the Grafton Loop, and when I get to that junction I will take a side trip to Old Speck Mountain, but it's a pretty steep climb for the next mile. Alright, so just nearing the end of the really tough back up to Old Speck Mountain. There's a lot of rock slabs and getting up here very steep. I'll get up here today. So the pond that I saw from here yesterday was not the Speck Pond where I was camping at, so I don't really see much more it should be. Alright, so I'm at this trail junction here, so heading 0.3 miles to the summit of Old Speck Mountain. It's starting to brighten up. Hopefully by the time I get there the sun will have cooked off all the fog. Alright, so this is the summit, which I was not aware, but there is a fire tower here. So I'm going to climb up there, see what it looks like. Alright, so from the top of the fire tower, Speck Mountain, Old Speck Mountain. Looking this way is somewhere down there, Grafton Notch. These peaks next later today. Still a little foggy, but it's starting to clear up a little bit. The pond that I camped at last night is somewhere down there. Alright, back to my backpack, and I am heading down to the Grafton Notch. 3.5 miles, a lot of downhill. Alright, so it's around 1 o'clock. I'm at my car here in the parking lot, Grafton Notch. So I'm going to be heading up now the east side of the Grafton Loop Trail from Grafton Notch. My hope is to get to Lane Campsite, but that's about 7.8 miles, and if the hiking is as slow as it's been so far the last couple of days, I'm not going to make it that far, but there's some other campsites before there, so we'll see how far I get. Alright, so I am near the summit of West Baldpate Peak. Over here is East Baldpate Peak, which I guess I'm going next. It's not that far on the map, but it looks like a lot of down and then up. And like the next campsite available is somewhere another 2 miles past that peak, so it's going to be a long time before I get there. So this is a pretty cool area here. It's like this col between the Baldpate peaks. It's kind of this open area. Just following these rock cairns now. So I'm at the summit of East Baldpate Peak. This is my favorite part of the hike so far. The two Baldpate peaks. Probably a little bit better views on the way up here. It's kind of like a flat summit area, but it's pretty cool. You can see all 360 degrees around. It's still very hazy. But now I'm headed to, I guess the next campsite from here is about 2.1 miles. I think it's a steep descent. About 2.1 miles, about 5:30 now. So there's no way I'm making it to the Lane campsite, which I wanted to get to. But gotta get going. All right, so day 4, just leaving my campsite, and I'm heading basically back the way I came yesterday afternoon, back to my car. So back over the Baldpate Mountains. So have about 2 miles to get there and big climb, and it'll be descent into my parking lot. This is not the right way. All right, so in the summit of East Baldpate, and it's not as clear as it was yesterday afternoon when I came here, and it just started to rain a little bit, which is not good because the downhill is on the kind of sheer rock face, very steep, so it's not going to be fun if it rains more.